Welcome back, guys. Day 4. This is where I ended up at the end of day 3. And up here, it's hard to get the grandeur on a camera like this, but these are the foothills of the Alps. I'm probably about 60-70 miles away from the Italian border, and that's where we're heading today. Well, this is the stop for the night. I'm in the village of Venadio, which is basically a huge fort. Now, that name may be one you recognise if you're into 2CVs, because a world meeting was held here. Can't remember the year. But anyway, if you look up on YouTube, Venadio or Uroš Bobić, there's a film that he made about the world meeting, and very worth a look. I think there may be another one of his on YouTube as well. But anyway, if you like watching 2CVs and people who love 2CVs, give it a watch. Day 5 and another beautiful morning. I'm driving down from Venadio, down from the Alps. It was cold last night. I was the only person on the campsite in the end. There were loads of people there when I arrived, but they all went about 6 o'clock. They're all Italian. So I was on me lonesome. And it was a cold night up here in the hills. But anyway, it's a beautiful morning. I'm heading down to Cuneo, where I will decide the route I'm going to take cross country. I genuinely haven't decided yet, although I'm only about 20 minutes away from Cuneo. So I'll probably just park up and walk around and have a think, and then head on. I'm also testing the microphone at the minute, on board camera microphone, because the separate microphone has thrown a hissy fit and has started breaking up, so you may never see this footage. I tried the A-roads, probably done about 20 miles in the last hour, so very slow, lots of lorries. And everything seems to be cameraed up because the seems to be a blanket 70 km/h speed limit along most of it, well signed, with average speed cameras over part of it, and obviously the fines or whatever must be quite strong because the locals are all adhering to the speed limit very closely. So, given I wasn't doing anything in particular, I've just given up. I've hit the autostrada. I'm heading for Soave, just past Verona. So I'm just going to go there, and I intend to spend the night there at an air. So about 3.5 hours worth of motorway. Right, well, 3 hours on the motorway and 25 euros later, I'm in Soave at the park up, which is basically just a car park, but with electric, 10 euros a night. It's also got water dumping, etc, 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 which I think is very good. It's run by a local motorhome club, and to say it's centrally located is an understatement, because if we just walk through this little gap by the bins, there are the medieval walls of Soave. And I've never been here before, so it's all new to me. So we're going to have a look inside. I hope you can get a sense of how long these walls are. It's an impressive amount of building. I don't know anything about the city yet. There's an information board at the end. And it's surrounded by water. Now again, I don't know if the camera will pick this up, but beneath me in that water, there are dozens and dozens of fish. Of a reasonable size. It's obviously a tourist little town, but very attractive. Marble pavements, lovely old buildings. There's a church up the far end, which we'll go to in a minute. But we'll have a look at this main entrance. Town has a lot of wine shops, not unexpectedly. And quite a few of them are tucked away in little courtyards like this, which are of great age, judging by the building at the end. It's hard to tell what it was originally, but certainly medieval. Right, I walked to the top of a very steep hill to visit the castle, because I believe you can walk around the walls, and it's shut on Mondays. But anyway, you can actually see into it from various parts along the path. So now this gateway, which is very, very impressive, very, very tall, dates from 1369, when it was a restoration of the edifice that stood there already, which dated back to 954. So we're talking serious antiquity, aren't we? Very impressive. Let's see what lies through the other side. So up there lies the castle right at the very top, which I failed to get into. And the walls come down the hill through this archway we've discussed. And then along to the bottom. And at the far distance where it ends, if you turn right there, that's where I first entered the town. So I'm not quite sure how I managed to miss Suave all these years, but I'm very glad I finally caught up with it. Right, this is the air for the next couple of days. It's again run by a camper club in a small village, and apparently it gets very busy. There's 3 of us in it at the minute, but apparently it gets very busy because it's only €6 a night and then €3 for an electric hookup. There's water and disposal and all the usual sort of stuff as well, so very cheap. And the reason I've chosen this one, as well as because I've never used it before, is because of and look where the train's taking me. La Serenissima. A place I've visited many times. So it'll be a brief walk round today. No chance of finding many classic cars or motorcycles here, I don't think. Anyway, it should be a good day. Well, I made St Mark's, which is absolutely heaving. The horses you can see there were looted from Byzantium, Constantinople, and brought back after, I can't remember which crusade, but the Venetian Doge led the crusade. He was blind, and I believe about 81, but still managed to loot Byzantium. And then we have the clock tower and the arcaded centre, where there are some amazingly expensive cafes. Very attractive place to sit, but it's going to cost you. So I'll have a quick look at the water, and then I'll head back via the Ponte Vecchio and into some of the quieter areas, because I don't need to be in all these crowds anymore. I've done it many times. It doesn't take too long to get away from the crowds, luckily. Just one street back, things are a lot quieter. There's still people walking through, but I'm going this way, and they're all going that way. But you've probably heard of the Leaning Tower of Pisa. But what about the Leaning Tower of Venice? I don't know how well the camera will show that, but that church tower has a very distinct lean. No idea what the church is, I just noticed it as I went through this square. Venice is behind me now, back on the motorway. I'm heading for a place called Gorizia, which is on the Slovenian border. I suppose I should also mention diesel prices in Italy. It's cheaper than France. Most average stations with branded fuel is 179.9. There was a firm called E, who I've never heard of, and they seem to be knocking it out for 175.9. So a noticeable difference, and cheaper than France, and a lot cheaper than the UK, which is unusual because Italy has always been known for its high level of fuel prices over decades. Even when I was a child, Italy was known for its high fuel prices. So there you go. Take that as it is, make of it what you will. And I'll bring you back when I get to Slovenia, and we'll see how much it is there. I'm in the hills above Bastogne now. I'm going to spend the night here on this campsite, which is absolutely huge. It stretches in a tremendous distance all round, absolutely enormous, and it's got a giant ablutions block, including full kitchens with electric hobs. I was going to use a camp up in Bastogne, but the caves, which the place is very famous for, is pretty much the only one around, and they wanted €20 a night to basically stand in their car park with an electric hookup, which is very expensive. I don't know the exact price of this place yet. As usual, the price list is long and complicated, but I suspect it will come in at under €20, so you get an awful lot more for the same amount of money. Now let's look inside, because I went shopping. I'll give you an idea of some Slovenian prices. So I've got some meat borek, a very large piece. I'll put my hand to give you an idea. That's probably about 6 to 7 inches wide. So a very large chunk. I got 2 very large bread rolls. Again, fingers show how big it is. And a donut. Slovenia are famous for their donuts. They are wonderful. So it seemed a shame to not indulge. So all of that lot came to €2.30, which is a bargain. And then I also bought, in the shop next door, a bottle of my favourite Slovenian beer, Lasko Pivo, with the goat on. Now, beer in Slovenia used to be dirt cheap, I mean really stupidly cheap. But that bottle, which is 500 ml, so a pint, was €1.26, which puts it pretty much on France and Italy sort of level. So beer's gone up. This sort of food's still very reasonable. And I noticed that takeaway food from a couple of takeaways I walked past were probably French prices. So Slovenia has become more expensive in the last few years. The donut, by the way, is A, delicious, and B, filled with peach jam. Wow. Right, I didn't do a starting off video this morning because it was wet, grey, quite horrible up in the hills. So I skipped Ljubljana, which if you've never been I wouldn't recommend. I'd definitely go, but I've been a few times, so I skipped it. And now I'm in a park up in a small village, still in Slovenia, but near the Croatian border. Now from this side it just looks like an ordinary park up. A few cars passing behind. It's not that busy a road, but there's electric, which is very good, and the spaces are very wide, so you can spread out if you so wish. However, turning around the other side, we get this. It's on the river with swans, and on our right, I don't know if we can see it yet, let me just go down this bank. On our right is a large church, in front of which is a wooden bridge, still in use as part of their day-to-day infrastructure. Now the river swings off over there, where the far swans are, and the whole of the town is an island, effectively, in the middle of the river. So it's a very charming little place. So let's go and have a walk through the village and see what we can find. Now amazingly, this wooden bridge has a 12-ton weight limit, so it's obviously an awful lot stronger than it looks, because some bits look a bit careworn, shall we say. Yeah, it's a charming old village. Now in the church there was a statue which I took to be St James. I thought can't possibly be St James. But here on one of the downpipes, I don't know if you can see that very well, there's a Camino sticker for Slovenia. So I'll have to look that up. I wasn't aware there was a Camino in Slovenia, but I've just learnt there is, so I should try and find out more about it. And just across the road there is a classic vehicle of some sort. Well, I know exactly what sort. It's an Airstream caravan, but it's the first time I've come across anything even remotely vehicle related since leaving France. It's a big one as well. God, you could live in that, couldn't you? Full time without any problem at all. Wooden bridge on the other side of the village, so I've come right round. I'll see what's past this. It's a sign for another church. I'll take a walk out there, I think. But it is an absolutely beautiful little place. Look what I spotted in this compound. I don't know if you can see it very well. 2CV. On the wall of what I take to be the town hall is this amazing mural. Not something you see very often nowadays. It used to be popular in the Yugoslav years and Eastern Bloc countries as political slogans, but this one clearly dates back to some sort of medieval battle. I'm afraid my Slovenian is not up to working it out. One group on the left, the banner appears to be a cockerel, but I've no idea who they are. In fact, on closer examination, let's move a little bit further forward than medieval, because some of the pikemen on the right look early Renaissance perhaps? I've no idea. I'm afraid my Slovenian isn't up to working it out and there's no date that I can see. But interesting nonetheless. Let's see when it was made, shall we? 1982, so it is in fact a Yugoslav era mural. Well, it's in superb condition still, they've looked after it. More Yugoslav era stuff. There are carvings on the door in metal of various workers. We've got mine workers, people sowing in the fields, people collecting fruit, and at the top, I'm not sure. Impressive, very, very impressive. 1956 dates to. Oh, one last little tree in the village. We have a Zastava 750. I think it's a fairly late one looking at it because the badges at the front are plastic. The tyres are in good nick. So presumably it was in use at some point recently. Now a static advert for a garage. But yeah, it looks in good nick. It's not a rock box, you can see in the wheel arches and things, everything's sound. 750 LE, so basically the Fiat 600 rear engine water cooled 4s, but built in Yugoslavia. So this must have been one of the last. I'm not sure exactly when it went out of production, but certainly this must be late 70s, I'm sure. See if we can have a look inside. Standard Fiat really, small instrument panel, petrol gauge, coolant, couple of flick switches, and that's your lot. It's got the Fiat paddle type indicators. Again, I don't know how well this will come out, but yeah, nice to see though. Right guys, that's it from the village of Kostanjevica. Tomorrow I may just stay and have a rest, put my feet up for a day rather than travel. If not, it will be on to Croatia and another small village where, despite its size, it had an amazing impact on the history of the Balkans. So see you again soon.